Hi guys, my name is Pablo Contriciani. I am a visual artist and an art instructor from Argentina, living and working in Miami. I am going to have in a few moments an art conversation with an artist colleague, Charo Oquet. She is an interdisciplinary artist born in Dominican Republic with a strong influence in the Miami art scene. She's working with painting, sculpture, ceramic, printmaking, photography, video, and installation. She is currently exhibiting her work starting at December 3rd in Little Haiti Cultural Center. There is information in this post about that. And she is the founder of Edge Zones, a non-profit art organization with a long list of very remarkable exhibitions in Miami in the last 15 years. We are going to talk about her creative artist process, how she produces the work, why, what's the meaning behind it, what inspired her. The goal for this conversation is for you to have a better understanding of her work. And I am going to repeat this series of conversation every Tuesday at 6 p.m. with a different artist guest. I'm going to call Charo now. Be patient for a few moments until I reach her. You can write your questions in the chat during the conversation, and I am going to read them to Charo, and she's going to answer when we finish our dialogue. Just wait a few moments. I don't see Charo yet. We have to be patient a few moments until she is in the audience. Just be patient until Charo appears. Let's wait a few minutes more. Otherwise, we connect in 10 minutes. Let's see. Let's see what happened. A few minutes more. Okay, she's here. Hello.
Hola.
Hola,
Sorry.
Charo. No problem.
I've been really crazy busy today, and I thought it was tomorrow. Sorry. Let me get my
Everybody's
lights
crazy. Everybody's crazy this week.
I have the lights are off, and I'm dark, and I have to light it up. Sorry.
Don't worry.
Really sorry about that. Just busy day.
Everybody's
Here
busy.
we go.
Miami Art Week, and
I
even
know.
it's not Art Basel fair this year, we still have the Miami Art Week, and
Everybody's crazy.
It's the craziest week for all the Miami artists.
Here I was. I have it in my calendar. But, just crazy moments. Perdona. Okay, informal. Hey, we got better lighting now. Yes, thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Hi.
Excellent, Charo. Everything okay. We are, this is a, my goal is to have a conversation with you, go deep into the arts, but also very casual, like two friends, two
Mm-hmm.
artist friends talking. And
Exactly.
that is the idea to share with the audience too. I would like to start uh, asking you, um, how did you get into the arts?
You know, I think what I could say is I've been an artist all my life, in a sense, since I was 10 years old. I came to the US as a child, exiled from the Dominican Republic. My father was a high ranking military officer during the Trujillo regime, and things were very chaotic. My father wanted to get out of the army. He couldn't. He finally got out, and we came to the US. But prior to that, you know, I had moved a lot. My father was being moved all constantly. The dictator was very paranoid at the end. And so I was going from one school to another. So it changed a lot. And then, you know, so my learning was really bad. So I was always drawing in my notebooks instead of actually, I didn't know where it was. You know, I changed school and who knows what. And so I did a lot of drawing. Nobody ever noticed it. But when I came to America, my teachers in my art class in Bayonne, New Jersey, where I lived, all of a sudden realized that I was a good artist, and they told me, "Oh my God, you know you're really good." And it was the first time that I had been told that I did something good in school. So basically, I became the classroom artist. Um,
Was your salvation?
yes, it was. You know, and I started to decorate the class. Sorry, I started to really just become, you know, like art was my language. It was my identity. And it became so, even when I moved again back to the Dominican Republic, when I was 16, I went from, you know, we had lived in America. We were like living in this sort of working class neighborhood with people, you know, that were mostly had not a lot of ambitions. Then I go to Dominican Republic, and I'm going to this American prep school. So I had a New Yorican accent. Everybody there was very posh. And again, what saved me was art. You know, that I had this thing that I did, and that was special. And also, you know, I enrolled myself at the Fine Arts Academy when I was 16. I went to Santo Domingo. I went by myself, and I enrolled in Bellas Artes in the Fine Art Academy, and I started doing art there as well. So, you know, my parents were not interested in me doing art. In Dominican Republic, art was not thought of as anything that, you know, a young lady, a bougie girl would, you know, should be doing and stuff, like, you know, as a career, you know. So basically, I would do it nevertheless, and I paid my own classes, and I continue on regardless of what my family thought. They never really supported me. So I've been an artist basically because I insisted on it, you know.
And there was, why you insisted so much? There was because you love to do it, because you saw something that you wanted to pursue.
You know, it was always a very spiritual thing for me. When I was 12, my father had paid like I got one of those drawer like this, and I got you know, they sold my father a sort of paint, you know, like a class, but through correspondence. And I realized that I had this special gift, but it was something that it was, you know, it was very spiritual. It was something that it wasn't just like I couldn't draw things that I didn't really love. So I found out very early that the only kind of artist I could be was a fine artist, that I couldn't be anything else, because somehow or other, you know, if I didn't love what I was doing, it would it would disappear. Like I wasn't good at it then. So you know, I decided this is what I'm going to be. I'm going to be an artist, and I love what I do. And I was, you know, I was this very funny kid. I read a lot as a child. I felt very out of place, both, you know, when I went back and I was forced to go back to the Dominican Republic. So art was my thing. Art was what saved me. Art and literature. I read a lot, and it was my window to kind of like another world, like to, not where I was. So for me, I was a seeker. I was always trying to kind of like, I don't know, I was just odd as a child, you know?
Caro, from that point,
Hmm.
how do you become a multimedia artist?
Well, I've always been a multimedia artist. I think, I started my career when I was 29. I decided, I was looking ways of how to do it. How am I going to become an artist? How can I live as an artist? How could I support myself? And so finally, I met someone who was an artist, and he said, well, "Why don't you?" And I went back home to the Dominican Republic, and took off. And then I went to Europe. And when I got to Europe, I started to sort of do art, but I wasn't living as a full-time artist. Then I moved to New Zealand. And in New Zealand is where my art career really begins. And I moved
Why?
there through marriage. And well, because I'm a full-time artist there, I found a way of supporting myself, even it was like living off the dole, which you could do in New Zealand, and just insisting on painting every day. So I would paint for like maybe 6 months, and then I would get tired, or like, like your thing dries out a bit, like you're not, it's not flowing. So instead of stopping, I would go on to something else that would excite me, like maybe drawing or sculpture, or and I think one of the things about me that I used to play a lot as a child. I grew up playing a lot. I had a lot of cousins, and we played a lot. And I don't know if you did this, but as a child, we would play like jacks. It was like jacks, that's a fever, and every kid was playing jacks. Or then it was like tops, or it was ball, basketball, whatever it was. You played like for maybe, I don't know, a couple of months or 6 months or something. Everybody was really excited about that, and I think that's the way I operate. I have to be excited. So once something kind of like I've done it, it goes through a course, then I have to kind of switch. Or if I feel like I have a block, I'll switch to another medium that makes me excited, again. Or for example, when I was, doing I've been doing this organization, and in 2011, I got really saturated with sales and all these things that I wasn't really, I mean, I started Edge Zones not because I wanted to sell art. It wasn't a commercial thing. It was really about, creating a platform for Miami artists to take, to be able to take risk and have a space to create, but somehow they you start selling. You start making this the arts for sale. You, as a nonprofit, you have to match your grants, and I wanted to help artists. I know everybody wants to sell, so I started selling and everything. But it's a very complicated thing when you're a nonprofit art organization, and when you yourself are an artist, it gets very muddy and I got really upset with it, and I stopped doing it. So I couldn't even see paintings or drawings for a while. It got me so like, and what brought me out again was getting into performance art. It sort of changed my whole thing. It wasn't about objects. It wasn't, so I changed, the genre, or I changed the medium, and I got excited again. I was able to come slowly back into painting and drawing after a while, because I went into performance art. So I've always been one of these artists that there's never even when I started in the 80s, early 80s, 81, it wasn't looked right upon. Like, if you did paintings, you shouldn't be doing something else. You should stick to one medium. But that was never my case. I always switched, and I always had, like, I would do printmaking. I would have a show, and my show would have large paintings. It would have works on paper. It would have prints, and it might have sculptures too. And I feel that also that way, everybody, you know, like maybe everybody couldn't buy a big painting, but they could buy a drawing, or they could buy a print that was, you know, an edition. So, and that was one of the reasons, but also because I just, as a person, I'm like that, you know. Anyway.
You, what do you consider is um, the most important element in your work, Charo?
Oh gosh, I suppose.
If you have to
Well,
choose one, I know.
as you mean as an element, as a like as a something that you notice in my work that's always present, or what it's about,
Yes,
the concepts, like in the concepts.
can be one of the concepts, or can be an element in a composition element in your work that you always use. You are very identified with that, like, I don't know, color,
Well,
for example. Or
you know, I think that the basic thing about my work is about decolonizing, you know, and it's about not so much about identity, but understanding in a way who we are as people, you know. I mean, my work started in New Zealand, as I said, you know, where they were decolonizing, they were, you know, reviewing their relationship between the Maori and the white and the England and the colonies and all that kind of stuff. And I started picking up on that, and I started looking at my own relationship with, you know, my looking at my family and how we related to, you know, to blackness. To my mother was a mulata, a black Dominican. My father was a white Dominican, and so my mother always had the issues of blackness and race were always very present in my family, because my mother was always very aware. I mean, we moved to America when, you know, prior to civil rights, you know, 62. So my mother, you know, their mixed marriage, we were in the North, which was easier, I suppose, to deal with. But, you know, we were, my mother, I suppose, suffered a lot of these situations. And even though, you know, I could pass as a Latina, you know, whatever, I was still very aware of my blackness and about, you know, my relation, my family, and how my family and my mother and all that, those issues. And then, you know, I went from that to my own country and how people looked, you know, how we had all this negation of blackness, how we had this self-hatred, how we, you know, put down, you know, like big lips and kinky hair and skinny legs and all kind of, you know. So I started really evaluating the way we looked at ourselves, how the Dominicans, you know, and their relationship then to Haiti and to the colonies and all that. So that's been my thing, you know, that's been going through my work, but also the spiritual, the spiritual in the arts, because I suppose I went to boarding school age 6, and you know, the Catholic school at the time was very saints. It was very, you know, it had a lot more pageantry and more things that you don't see today. It's like they've cleaned it up a little bit, but you know, as age 6, you go to a church and there's all these betrayals and it's all this singing and it's all these sculptures and all of that. To me, you know, was a kind of a medium into getting you more close to, like, you know, to the spiritual side. So perhaps I was looking for that in art, you know, like something that would become a conduit, you know, to perhaps spirituality. Because to me, art, you know, there's different kinds of art. For me, the art that I'm interested in is the one that sort of has a charge, that has a spiritual quality, that has something that moves you, you know, not that decorates, but that actually moves you, that has some sort of quality behind, you know, to it, a spiritual quality to it. So, you know, I can, so I think you can always find that in my work, or I try to put that in my work, whether people see it or not, you know. And it's not necessarily about religion so much, but it is about the special quality that I think one, you know, that you see sometimes in objects. Or, I don't know, it's hard to define how it is, how, but I find it and I see it. You know, that's what I would say, you know, because I think from very early, when I started painting, it was like the big question was, well, what is it that, how can I, when I first started, what is it that I'm going to be able to continue doing for years? What kind of work can I do that is going to be something I can continue doing, not just now and then change, but something that, so I went like deeply into me, into my guts, I think. And I found that, like these images of like women and, women and, maybe the Madonnas and this, these just certain images that I felt, had a certain quality to them. And sort of songs, like things like Salve, which is the songs that Dominican women sing while they're working, but they're actually for the Virgin Mary. And they have this incredible quality to them. So I was looking for that kind of quality in my work, to insert that into my work. But then,
Yes.
But then again, if you look at materials, I think,
Yes.
you're going to always find, in my installations, you're going to find wood, very simple materials that people, have used in, to create. Like I went to these places in the Dominican Republic. I've done a lot of research into Afro-Dominican and Caribbean rituals and culture. And you'd go to these little places where people are like have no money whatsoever, and they transformed a room with somebody's bedcloth and somebody's tablecloth and somebody's, and a little bit of like crepe paper. They had one color, some string, some glitter, and these really simple things would transform a room into a sacred space. And for me, I find that you don't need to have a lot of really expensive things. And I like to sort of let people know that you don't need to, to do art, you don't need a lot of money. You need, you can do it with very simple things. And so for me, things like plastic blow up toys and the sort of what they call marking or masking, like marking tape, marking tape. It's like this plastic that they use to mark, let's say, in the road, like when they're going to fix something. Or
yes.
So it's like these plastic. It's almost like a ribbon, but
electricians have that. Yes.
And so I use that a lot. I use, those are things that blow up toys. That you find a lot in the Dominican Republic, and they're cheap, and everybody, it's like you'll see these guys selling them. They're like inflatables, So those are elements in that. In my painting, I would say just really bright colors, because first of all, I come from the Caribbean and we live in Miami, and I think the light here is really bright. And it's wonderful that we have this clarity of light. It's not dark. It's beautifully light and brilliant. And also because, I find that also it has to do with what is called radical hope, with the idea that, something can make you happy. And colors to me have not only are they codified, but they also have like a power. They have a power to,
definitely,
when you look at them, they can give you a certain amount of joy or pain or whatever, you know what I mean? So for me, having colors and, putting colors into my work is really important, because I want to, most of the time I want to recreate that, the sort of radical hope, that sort of the possibility of that an artwork can also give you something, give you an energy. Because that's one of the things that I study, which is, again, going back to the spiritual and the sort of certain qualities of like of art, which is, art that has healing power, and art that has, images. Like you think about the Egyptian scroll, not Egyptian, Ethiopian scrolls, that they give you medicine for your body, but then they give you these drawings that they put in front of you to heal your soul.
Yeah.
And the bebes, which are the Haitian, the sort of like Africa, the voodoo las firmas, which are the drawings that represent the day, So the idea that images have a power is something.
Exactly. Art as a ritual. as a healing.
As a healing ritual, as a an art object that also gives you this this spiritual things, gives you something. It doesn't just sit there. It gives you, you react to it, and your reaction to it can be negative or positive.
Yes, definitely. I agree with you. There is different ways to relate art with that category as a cure or as a healing, as a ritual. Even the old civilizations, they were using art not for commercial meanings only.
Hmm.
They incorporate it like as a part of life.
Exactly.
I completely agree with you, and I'm interested too in that searching. Charo, there is some artists that have an influence in your work.
Yeah, I mean, doing this for so long that they really have, I don't know, I suppose through the years, I can say that different artists have influenced me. I mean, I began first with the abstract expressionists. I mean, when I first started, it was, I would say, the impressionists, the French and all that, and then and then I would say, like, more like when I started doing installation, people like Judy Pfaff and Jessica Stockholder. Um, when I was painting the Quattrocento, like the Giotto and people like that,
Mhm.
and I looked at the Germans and and then the Italian Transvanguardia, and but I've also, like, like the Rara, the sort of people like what's his name, gosh, he's a really well known Haitian, Bahra, I think his name is, who does this wonderful, I don't know if he's still alive, but some of the, like, very ritualistic things that they do in Haiti, I would say I was,
Mhm.
and then you have the people like Grenier Fetting, like when I was painting in the 80s, it would have been all that sort of, people like Grenier Fetting, Helmut Middendorf, and all those people, the American abstract expressionists, William de Kooning. So my taste changes, and I'm always looking, and there's always someone that inspires you, that you work has a conversation with, that will trigger something, and then you can, which you can adapt to your own work. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm doing ceramics now. There's a lot of amazing people doing ceramics, and it and they talk to me because perhaps I was doing some sculptures that were very similar, and so then I see that in ceramic, and so that you incorporate you know these qualities to it. But you know I mean, and there's just multiple people that all the time, you know are influencing me, or I'm picking up on their ideas. I'm having relationship with their work, and it's constant, you know what I mean? But like, whether one person in particularly, I wouldn't say, I would say that it varies, and depending on what kind of things that I'm doing at the time.
Charo, what do you inspire? What inspire you to do art?
What inspires me? I don't know. I get up every morning, and
And you,
uh, I just like creating. It's my life. I don't. It's like breathing, eating.
okay,
It's like
it's a natural
I
process for you.
do it. I need to express myself in art, and if I had my way, I would be doing it all the time. But I'm a very productive person. I produce a lot, and then you don't. You have to, like, I love doing art, like sculptures, but they're hard to put to store, so you have to kind of hold yourself back. I love to painting, probably what is one of my most passionate ones, because but it's like painting is like a very jealous lover who doesn't want you to do anything else but with him.
I feel the same.
You know, painting is just so, it is so, there's so much, you know, you have to be there all the time. You have to lock yourself up in a way, and almost, and you have to do it daily. And, you know, and when I do, I get, and if people stop me, I want to kill, you know. I don't like, I just really, really love doing it. And it's so, you know, it's almost like I can't do it unless I'm able to continue doing it, you know.
Exactly. You don't want to be interrupted.
No, no, no. You know, it's very difficult. It's a very difficult medium. I love doing it, but unless you can dedicate a lot of time to it and be able to like come back to it every day, it is a difficult proposition, you know. So for me, it's much easier to do an installation or a sculpture because somehow it's not in my head so much, you know. But painting, if you step away from it too long, you know, you kind of change, you know, it changes in a way that it doesn't have this
Yeah.
complete continuity or something. You know what I mean? You're a painter, so
Yeah. I like your association. Like painting can be like a very jealous lover. I think
very
it's
demanding,
a very good
very
definition.
lover. I mean, it demands everything of you. Total, you know, you with me, and no, don't even look at anybody else, you know, that kind of thing. You know?
Charo, I see that you have some pieces there. Maybe I would like you describe your process of work. Maybe choose one of the pieces you have, your favorite,
Well,
or if it's possible, and
I can
choose.
show you. Oh,
Just say
okay.
how you make it. How I have
Okay,
some pictures
you
here
know what?
too.
Let me see if I can find these
Yeah.
photos of these pieces that I just went through, that I've just put up at the Haitian Cultural Center. And
Okay.
you'll see the process, which is pretty wild actually.
Okay.
Let me show you the
Yeah.
process because it is so first of all, it's a site specific piece, and I was not you know, I wasn't, I created it because I, you know, like to know what I'm doing before I get there. And I didn't know how long I would have. So I basically started doing it, and you'll see how it, let me see how I'm going to be able to change this. Can I do this? Yeah, there we go.
Yes. Yeah.
So
You made it.
this is the beginning of it. And I'm going to go really fast, you know.
This is. What do you mean the beginning? It's
This
like
is
a
the beginning
sketch.
of this piece that I put together. I started installing it in my gallery and in my studio, and then you'll see how it changes, and you'll see how my process is pretty. You can see how I'm taking things off, I'm putting things on. See the and and you'll see the finished piece, which is quite different.
Charo, you have a plan when you started, or you just start to play with the different elements on the wall?
You know, I just started to play. Don't ask
Okay.
me. Well, no, I'll tell you what. This piece came from, it's called Heyoki, and it comes from the idea of the sacred clown. So I've been working on the concept of the sacred clown. Okay. And I'll read to you what I wrote about it. Let me see. Give me a moment so I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
find it, because then you'll understand where this piece is coming from. Um, Let me see if I can find it. Shoot, I just had it earlier. Let me see. Here we go. Okay, so this is, I'll read it to you. Okay, Heyoki. Baudrillard was once described as a wait, I want to also show you this when I'm doing this. Let me see if I can do this both. Okay, so basically, um, I won't. Basically, you know, it's about the philosopher clown and colorful kinetic. Well, I won't explain it to you, but taking the concept of sacred clown from pre-Columbian American indigenous tribal traditions, the installation collage painting seeks to unite collage and concepts of traditional Afro-Caribbean root clothing for rituals such as Rara indigenous Taino traditions. The holy warrior heals the spirit, the shaman heals the body, the sacred clown heals the soul. Most of the American tribes have their clown. In the Voodoo tradition, the trickster is the Elegua. In the culture of the Lakota people, the Heyoka is a contrarian, a gesture, a satirist, who speaks, moves, and reacts in opposite fashion to the people around them. So in a way, you know, I won't read a lot more. I'll just show you. So basically, I had done some performances based on this, and from the performances, I started to want to. Sorry, wait. Let me go back and find the pieces again. Okay,
Oh, the piece
so
is
then,
amazing.
you know, here you see it going. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so then that's what I left with in my studio. And then I went to the Little Haitian Culture Center, and we kind of had to redo the that piece, the wooden
The
piece.
installation that were in your
And
studio.
also
Yes.
I got a corner and not a flat area. And so I had to, and it was, you know, I wanted to go right to left, you know, and at the time it was kind of the piece the way it wasn't like that. So I had to rethink it, and I started so that it would have a movement, you know, that would be kind of circular, you know. So
Yeah.
here it is being
That looks great.
so you see how I went from what you saw before, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because this is very, you know, site specific really means that you have to actually create on site, and you know, the site will tell you a lot, you know, it might change it completely. I usually, when it's site specific, I usually don't do a lot beforehand, because it's very hard then to switch gears, you know. And I also decided to include the this video which I called Breathe, that's in part of the installation, which is about the sort of clown, you know, artists, you know. Because to me right now, the idea of the clown, when things are very difficult, you know, you really want to, I think the clown is the one that's capable of actually changing, you know, changing and dealing with really difficult things, you know, because you know, it will really attack and change, you know, like it will do things to maybe people that normally, let's say presidents or kings, you know, it will take their, you know, they're not afraid. And I think humor is perhaps often a really great weapon in order to bring down something, you know, and to fight things, you know. So that's where this piece is coming from. So you can see that, you know, it went from a video, and let me see if I can maybe play you a little bit of the video, because the video has it's called Breathe. And let me see if I can, I don't know why I'm not finding my I know this is here, but it's not giving me let me, hold on. Desktop. I'm gonna find my hold on. I want to show you the video, but I did 2 videos with the idea of clown, with the, you know, the clown, the gesture, and so that's how my ideas flow. They go from one thing to another, you know. And so even if I change mediums, I still will have hold on, I'm gonna try and recreate it. Okay, here it goes.
Okay.
anyway, I don't know how much you want to see of this.
It's fascinating, Charo. Thank you so much to share this.
Anyway,
It's very beautiful.
so you could see the relationship to the piece, you know, and the idea of the clown, which is,
Yeah.
you see, you know, like it's the artist clown. So that's how my ideas go. My ideas go from one thing to another, to another, to another, you know what I mean? And I work, you know, I work them, you know, like right now I'm also working on something called, which I just did a thing for the AIM biennial, which is about the Cabo de Año. And the Cabo de Año is something I've been working since maybe 2011 or something, or no, 2000, when my grandmother died. And it's based in a dance. And it's, you know, this is a combination of syncretic, you know, African and Catholic. And they do it in a place in Dominican Republic, and I just love that concept. And I started to create these pieces, you know, these installations. I did one that it was I filled my grandmother's house bed with flowers, and that was like my first Cabo de Año. And so that concept of, you know, of the dead and reliquaries, you know, is something that I've been working for a long time. And now that we have this COVID-19, you know, and we have this situation where, you know, people are dying and we want to remember them, you know. So this is like a ritual of, you know, dealing with the pain of somebody dying, the loss. And so I'll show you that real quick too. And this is another one that you can see how it changed, you know. So this is the piece called Reliquary, and it's based on the Cabo de Año. But again, you see, it's not like, you know, anyway, that's for the AIM biennial that William Cordova and G. Moreno and them are putting together. Those are the photos. So you can see how my piece changed there, how the process of, you know, I think, there we go. Anyway.
Very interesting,
you know,
Charo.
so you know, I will take a concept and rework it again, you know, depending on when. But my work is based on research. It's based on a lot of research that I've done throughout the years in the Dominican Republic. And it's given me so much materials that I can store, that I can use, come back to it, you know. But it gives me concepts, like the idea, like if you see all my large potomitan, those large towers that I do, those are based on the concept of the potomitan, the axis mundi, the sort of like antenna between that you see in a temple, a voodoo temple, which is the antenna between the heaven and earth, you know. It's like a pole that is, it allows the saints to come down, you know. And so that I have done over and over in many, many ways, you know, where I've created these large structures. But at the same time, these structures are also based on the idea of very, very light structures that are created by very poor people, which are not something that it's got a lot of, you know, they're not like have heavy things on the ground. They're lightly put on the ground because they're mobile almost. You have to take them away and leave them, you know. So the concept of these sculptures that are very hardly touch the ground is something that also you see in my work, you know. So you see these sculptures over and over, because I keep doing them, and again, you know, because I find them, you know, how you can make them. It does, you know, it just changes, you know, when and where. I've done them all over the world. And let me see, actually, this is the first one I told you of Cabo de Año I did in my grandmother's house. And these are some of my installations that early installations, 900, and then 1999, 2000. And again, you see these like mounts. These are like sacred mounts, you know, that have to do with like burial mounts too. And these have to do with the sort of the vessels that you see in voodoo. And this again is up. See what I'm talking about? Those structures that are very light and are usually made with very wood and just kind of cheap materials.
Wow.
So these are some of my see there again. You'll see that kind of structure. This is 2002. I did this in Palmas de Mallorca.
Wow.
Here you go. See, this is one I did in Canary Islands in 2002, and this is about 23 feet tall. This
Wow.
huge one, yeah, and it's based on these potomitan. You know, they're based on these. See, here's more potomitan. That's the first. The one to the right is the one I did at the Bass Museum in 2001 when they had that that exhibition at the Bass Museum because, you know, like now they canceled Basel. And the one to the left is one I did at the Haitian Cultural Center. And these are like the big tall one is about 22 feet or something. The other one's about 15 feet.
They're
This
very
one,
interesting.
I did this one in Oslo. Again, it's a very big, tall piece, you know. So these are my installations that I'm showing you.
They're very powerful. Very powerful, Charo. Charo, what is your goal as an artist? What do you want to accomplish with your work?
You know, I see myself as an artist, but I also see myself as a cultural practitioner, you know.
Okay.
So for me, the community is a very important thing. It's not just about creating objects and creating, you know, selling art. And I'm not saying I'm against that. I mean, if that's what you want to do, that's totally fine with me. You know, that's just not my goal. I mean, I think my work is also very political. And so for me, being an artist is also being an activist and being, you know, being able to talk about things that perhaps one doesn't, you know, one can do it through art, but maybe it would be very difficult to talk about it, you know, as a regular thing, like talk about racism, you know. I mean, I started talking about racism and about decolonizing in 81, 82, 83, you know, when most people weren't talking about these issues,
Exactly.
you know. And I was doing it through art, you know. I was sort of making these installations that would surround you with, you know, with these objects that were very foreign to most people. And in a way, I wanted you to feel how it feels being surrounded by, you know, something that is a different culture, you know, and also to highlight the fact that these things are not necessarily evil or bad, you know. So, you know, like voodoo is always given this bad rap, but it's, you know, it's an animist religion. It's a religion that's more about the nature, you know, and it doesn't, you know, sure that there might be some people doing some nasty stuff, but which religion doesn't have those? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, but I do feel like, you know, one has to respect other people's ideas, as long as they're not hurting anyone, you know. And so for me, art is really about communicating. It's about exposing people. It's about having a dialogue with people. It's about creating these things that, you know, these opportunities, these events, these getting together with community. It's so many things, you know, it's not one thing, you know. And so as an artist, this is what I love. This is what I want to do. I want to be able to continue to create and to be able to share with other people and create opportunities for others as well, you know, because I feel that art saved me. Art gave me an identity. If it wasn't because these teachers who, you know, decided, hey, you know, recognize that I have this. You know, this is the other thing. I mean, I love education. I love what education does for people. And I feel that education, and I'm not trying to educate people necessarily through my work, but I mean, you know, giving people opportunities and educating people and opening people's eyes or having these possibilities of dialogues in other ways, you know, like some people can be really good at something. Maybe they're not good at being math, but maybe they're good artists. So, you know, allowing someone to use art as as a way of being able to say what, you know, who they are, what they are, and do creative, you know, create their lives. You know, I think some of us have that, and some of us don't, you know, but those who have it, you know, why shouldn't it be our vehicle? Why shouldn't it be how we live our lives, you know?
Exactly.
You know, so I feel that it's very important that, you know, people recognize art as an important aspect of life, and as an important job, and as an important, you know, material, you know, if you want to say it, you know, that is necessary in life, because artists are also, because we are always aware, you know, our thing is to be aware, to look, to see. We look like most people don't look like how we look at things, because we are constantly, that's our medium, to look, to be able to see things in a way that we can reproduce it or say something about it, you know. And we
And
are
we help
also,
others to see in that way. We help others to be aware about
exactly,
things that
exactly.
they cannot see. Exactly.
And so for me, you know, I think the artist is the thermometer of the world. We are the thermometers. We are the shamans. We are a very necessary. We are very necessary in the human race, because we often are the ones to raise the alarm. You know, we are probably bothered by things before anybody else is bothered by them. We see them before a lot of people see them, and we let people know about it, you know. And because of that, we're often ahead of, you know, of other people's understanding of a problem. So, you know, I think that art is a very necessary thing, and artists are very necessary in a society. So, you know, I really believe in that, and I hope to continue to be that, and I hope to help others to also find their way in as artists, and be able to perhaps make a living and somehow survive doing what they love doing, you know.
Listening to you, I remember Alejandro Jodorowsky. He was a filmmaker and a writer, and he exactly says the same. I completely agree with you. And you know, Charo, this is not going to be more than an hour because Instagram is going to code it. But I want to ask you a question that I also am an art instructor, and this is a question that my students would ask.
Mm-hmm.
What would you advise to somebody that want to start an art career and want to be professional, established, successful? What would you advise to somebody like is starting?
Well, you know, I think that first of all, they have to decide, do they really, really love this? Because it's not an easy career. It's not a career that you want to go in there for money. It's not an easy one. I just think that, you know, today, the art has so many different fields, you know, and that you should go out there and find out which is where you find yourself in. What is it you love to do, you know, in the arts? Do you love to make sculptures? Do you love to make things? You know, find that first, because I think that's where you have to start. You know, what do you love to do, and where is your place in this? And maybe you have to try a lot of different things. But I think when I first started, I wanted to be either a painter, filmmaker, or a fashion designer. And I found that painting was the easiest one, because filmmaking at the time was really difficult. And I didn't like making clothes. I liked to have somebody else sew them for me. So but I'm still doing all of the others. You know, today I'm doing films, I'm doing fashion, you know. So basically, you want to not put a lot of barriers in front of you. You want to take off, do it as soon as you can, in whatever is easiest for you at the time. You know, what is the most convenient? Do you, you know, watercolors because it doesn't take up a lot of space, or, you know, drawing because it's where you know, you have a little room that you can draw in, or, you know, sculptures because you have this available to you. So what is available to you? It's easy for you to do. Don't put barriers. Don't make it difficult for yourself. Start. You have to start, and you have to just, you know, I was self-taught for me. I mean, I went to school for a certain time, but I was self-taught most of my years. Most of my work was actually self-taught. And I didn't go back to school and become an, actually, you know, to university until I was like 45, already with 2 kids, you know. So I got my BFA. But, you know, the thing is, don't put excuses. Just start it and see if you love it. And if you don't love it, you probably want to switch and do something else. But you maybe, you know, you could be, today there's so many things. You could be a graphic designer. You could be, there's so many fields that have to do with creativity.
Yeah.
You know, so you choose which one you love and go for it, or just start it. Maybe that's the easiest one to start. Then you're going to find out maybe that's not, and you're going to jump onto something else. You know what I mean? But the thing is to start, and start as early as you can. This idea that I'm going to work at this forever and then later I'm going to become a painter and an artist. Nah, I'm going to tell you why. Because really, your best energy is when you're young. You know, your best work you're going to create when you're really young, and you're more open. You're more like, you know, you're like a child. So, you know, don't wait till you're 90 or 50 or 60. Oh, I'm going to retire, then become a painter. That doesn't exist. I'm sorry. You know, some people, I mean, maybe some people can do that. I'm not saying you can't, but really, you should start as soon as you can. Put your best energy, because you only get what you put in. So if you don't put your best time in it, you don't put a lot of time in it, you're not going to get to be a great artist. You have to put time. You have to put energy. You have to put work. It doesn't come sitting around thinking about it. You have to work, and you have to probably do more work than any other job. That's why you have to love it, because I don't think about how many hours I'm spending doing my work, because I love it. You know, it's not a job, you know. And I think in anything that you want to succeed, that's going to be the same situation. You have to love it, because you don't mind how much time you put in it. You know, you're doing it because you love it, and it's not a job. So that's so
very good, Charo. Very beautiful. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Pablo, for inviting me. And
we have to go because I don't want that call. But thank you so much. It was a very, very beautiful message, and we could go inside of your work. Was really, really wonderful.
Thank you.
Conversation is going to be in my page. I'm going to send it to you, and it's going to be available for everybody. Thank you so much, Charo.
Thank you, Pablo, and thank you for inviting me. You're great. I love you. Thanks so much.
I love you too.
Because ciao. Bye.